It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Memorial Day weekend? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, coming off a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host with opinions from left field, John Riley, and we welcome you to Hacksaw's Headlines, the Monday bonus podcast. Our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, with 8 locations in San Diego to serve you. You got projects, they've got materials, you want ideas, they can be your best friend, be your consultant. Invite you to go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. John Riley, good afternoon. We apologize for being a bit late, but as always, we're in the middle of renovations of our studios, so sometimes it takes us time to get the power back on. John, you look better than you sound. You sound like you're frazzled, but so am I. How you doing?
How's that?
That
I want to say that works. Okay. I just want to say, in memory, Memorial Day, big day for you and your family.
Yeah, very much so. Very emotional for me because my entire family is military. Very special time for me. Unbelievable weekend watching festivities. So it was great. But we're back. We got a lot to talk about. What an unbelievably busy Sunday I had. I know what you were involved in, but you're the one that made the decision to renovate the castle. So no empathy from my street corner, but at this moment, we're back on the air, and that's the only thing that counts. And we're going to try to grind through this. When we are done with this podcast, if we don't get disconnected by power outages over at the castle, when we are done, we're letting you take over. It's called Fans Forum. John, how does it work?
Okay, just for the record, when you're saying power outages, you ain't lying. The power was been off until about 30 minutes ago, just in time for the live stream. Hey, if you got a question or comment in the world of sports for Hacksaw, drop your hot take in the live chat on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, and we'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
And because it is Memorial Day, I'm going to invoke the military phrase, John, no FUBAR from your end at the castle. Listen,
okay.
If you like sports, I write about sports all the time. Check today's website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. You'll get the best 15 minutes in sport. I wrote and wrote and wrote. There was so much to cover over the weekend. And check my one man's opinion column. Today I wrote something very special about what Memorial Day means to me, my trip to Normandy, and all that. Think you'll really like it. Also, in the lower right-hand side of the homepage on my website's been newly redesigned, much more easier to navigate, but there's an orange box at the bottom. That's for Hacksaw's Insiders Group. You can subscribe to become part of the Insiders Group. It guarantees you'll get 2 emails every day, one from me, one from John, involving the world of sports. I invite you to do that. Want you to share, subscribe, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays, normally at 1:30. Want you to also give us a thumbs up, hit the follow button, give us a 5-star rating on Apple. It really helps us grow this podcast. And again, because we're doing it from 2 locations, we're going through a little bit of a learning curve in terms of the layout, the design of this podcast. We'll get this figured out once John gets off probation after making the FUBAR decision to renovate in his castle. But anyhow,
indeed,
that's where we are. John, we got a lot to talk about, and we're going to link it all to Memorial Day because that's what yesterday was all about.
Yeah, it was the Indy 500. What a day.
Let's just go topic by topic, and we invite you to join us, Fans Forum. If we hit one of your hot buttons, jump into the chat box and tell us what you think. Indy 500. The closest finish in the history of 110 years at the old Brickyard at Indy. The race was decided with 50 yards left on the final straightaway. Felix Rosenqvist made an unbelievably bold slingshot last lap pass to pass David Malukas by 5 feet. Pato O'Ward, who was in the running at the finish, wound up third. It's the second year in a row Malukas has had the victory in his grasp and wound up finishing in second place. The race was red flagged because of a bad crash into the wall by rookie Kyle Collette that led to a fire. The race obviously had to do with a lot of guys running out of fuel at the end, but the yellow flags, and there were 7 cautions in all, really slowed the pace down, and that allowed these guys to get by without having to make additional pit stops. There were wrecks everywhere. Alexander Rossi, bad pit stop, then a blown engine. Will Power had a blown engine. Ed Carpenter hit the wall. Ryan Hunter-Ray hit the wall. Catherine Legg hit both walls. That was early in the race. What a phenomenal finish. What a bold pass by the Swedish driver, Felix Rosenqvist, who started 4th on the second row to get the Indy 500. Just an emotional, amazing weekend. 350,000 plus fans at the old Brickyard. So that was item 1. Item 2 was the Canadian Grand Prix up in Montreal. Surrounded by controversy, surrounded by anger on the headsets, surrounded by another win by the 19-year-old Italian rookie Kimi Antonelli. Wins his 4th race in a row on the F1 circuit. He did it in a rainstorm. He and his teammate George Russell Saturday clashed during the sprint race of F1 cars when they rubbed wheels, and Antonelli was barking at his own pit about what his own teammate nearly did to him, and they had a confrontation in the pits after the sprint race. Management told them to stay off the headset, quit whining, and just go racing. Lewis Hamilton, best finish ever for this new team Ferrari. He's had nothing but problems 2 years in the running. Hamilton finished second. Max Verstappen, despite the chronic complaints about his car, wound up third. It was a bad day for last year's champions, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. They made a mistake, didn't start on rain tires. Why would you do that with rain everywhere and rain in the forecast? Went soft tires, never competed at the front of the pack, wound up losing. So unbelievable weekend at F1 in Montreal. And then there was the way to cap off Memorial Day weekend, the Charlotte 600. I don't know if you saw it, John. The salute to the late Kyle Busch was unbelievable. What an emotional ceremony. NASCAR's president in the eulogy called Kyle Busch, who just passed away at the age of 41. They called him rowdy, called him America's badass. There was a parade lap before the start, and the pole position car was left vacant. It's called the Missing Man's Formation. That was in honor of Kyle Busch. They painted the number 8 in the first turn in the infield. Drivers brought flowers, put the flowers on the painted part of the infield, knelt and said a prayer. It was amazing. And then on top of that, all 39 cars that started yesterday at Charlotte had Kyle Busch's decal on the front of the car. They ran the 8th lap in silence in reverence to his car number, and the fans stood and put their hands in the air for Kyle Busch. And before the race, as they unloaded his car off the hauler in the pit area, every one of the NASCAR teams, all the mechanics, crew chiefs, etc., stood in line as they rolled the car towards the inspection point. Every pit member put his hand on the car. It was just amazing outpouring of emotion. And then they ran the race, and they had to postpone the end of the race. It was washed out with about 50 laps to go because of rain in Charlotte. But it was just a spectacular show of emotion. And these are drivers who go head-to-head and don't like each other and knock each other into the wall and swap paint. The outpouring of emotion towards Kyle Busch and his family was amazing. And the family yesterday, just before the race started, confirmed to NASCAR that Kyle Busch passed away because of acute pneumonia that turned into sepsis and organ shutdown. Just absolutely amazing. So, John, I got my fill of auto racing. What a spectacular start from 9:45 when they dropped the green flag at Indianapolis to nearly 9 o'clock p.m. West Coast time, when they finally stopped the Charlotte 600 because of rain, we saw everything in auto racing. That's what I did on Sunday. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a weekend. Lee, are you all right, man? I mean, I could tell you're getting a little emotional. It's heavy. The whole Kyle Busch thing. I mean, that was really sad.
Yeah, very much so. The ceremony, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. And this comes from guys who don't like each other. This comes from guys who bang each other and put each other into the wall. The outpouring of emotion was just spectacular. But I'll tell you, the Indy 500, wow, that was edge of your seat. The Canadian Grand Prix, that's become nothing but a European drama show. That was amazing. And just the outpouring towards Kyle Busch and his family by everybody in the NASCAR family, wow.
Well, Lee, did you see, David Malukas, second place 2 years in a row? I just saw the moment, he was back in the pits or wherever and just being consoled. I don't know if it was his wife or his girlfriend, because he lost by 0.02 seconds. I mean, that's insane. I mean, yep. And then to come up, second place at the Indy, it's got to kill the guy.
Well, that's the second year in a row. He sat in the car for almost 4 minutes. He could not get out of the car. He was so despondent. Then he got out of the car and he sat against the car and he just could not compose himself to talk to the media. Then he finally did talk to the network, but he was almost weeping. And again, this kid, he's a kid. He laid it on the line. And it was right. He did nothing wrong. They ran that thing flat out. But obviously what happened on the final fourth turn of the final lap, Rosenqvist went high and got momentum and slingshotted right past Malukas. But like you say, by the nose of a car, 0.2 of a second. It was the nose of a car, closest finish in the history of IndyCar racing. Wow.
Wow. I mean, I think Malukas was trying to hold him off, trying to push him back, but he just ran out of juice. I mean, because they were, like you said, some of those racers were optimizing their fuel at the end. But what about Ed Carpenter, man? When he hit that wall and he came out of that car, he was pissed. He was really upset whoever pushed him out.
Well, there was a lot of bumping, but there's dirty air, there's turbulence. Guys can lose control of their car just with a snap of the fingers. And that's what happened to a number of guys. Ryan Hunter-Reay just came into a turn high, and he could not get the thing under control, and boom, he hit it. Carpenter really nailed the wall hard, but luckily nobody got seriously hurt. But that was an unbelievable race. 67 lead changes in the Indy 500. These guys are roaring from all over the pack to get the lead, to lose the lead, in the draft, out of the draft, dirty air, bouncing all over the place. If you love auto racing, and I grew up in an auto racing environment on the East Coast, boy, that was spectacular TV to watch all three of those events. Okay, we go from that. We're baseball centric. Let's talk baseball because we got a lot of breaking stories here, John.
Yeah, look at this. Padres, wins, losses, and rumors.
Let's talk about the Padres situation. They won two out of three from the Athletics. Tough day on Sunday. Michael King, the ace of the staff, did not look like Michael King, the ace of the staff, but rough outing. 3 2/3 innings, 4 runs, 5 hits, 4 walks. He just got banged around, just did not look right. That's a one-off. He has given him so much quality starts. It's been absolutely amazing. Padre pitchers, though, did walk 7 batters, and that came a day after Lucas Giolito nearly walked the stadium, too, in that game. Yet the Padres are sitting there in first place, or battling for first place. The Padres are 31-21, and now the Padres get the suddenly hot Philadelphia Phillies. And this will be interesting, this Monday matchup, because Philadelphia, with Don Mattingly as the interim manager, John, is 16-8. Far cry from what they were doing earlier. And they're starting to hit. Bryce Harper hitting. Kyle Schwarber hitting. Bryson Stott hitting. Now, the third baseman, Alex Braun, has yet to find his rhythm. There's still a lot of baseball to be played. Philadelphia, this is going to be a tougher series, I think, than anybody realizes. The other Padre topic, and I don't understand this at all, the Padres are talking to the Red Sox about a trade for relief pitcher Aroldis Chapman. 3 different sources have now confirmed that conversation has taken place. And I guess the burning question, I don't know that we need another relief pitcher, John, as much as we need another quality starting pitcher. And I think that's where the discussion involving A.J. Preller and other clubs has to take place. Now, I've been told from Boston contacts that the Red Sox are looking for a right-handed bat because that's the one thing they're missing in what's been kind of a substandard batting order is a little bit of power. So the burning question, would you give up Ty France or Ramon Laureano plus a prospect? Because I was told that's the asking price to get Chapman. Or do you agree with me? We don't need another guy in the bullpen. We need to go get a starting pitcher. You know, Freddie Peralta is out there. Tarek Skubal, although that's pricey and that's a rental, he's out there. Sandy Alcantara of Miami, he's out there. Antonio Senzatella, former starter turned reliever, Colorado, he's out there, probably at a more affordable price. I just don't know that we need Aroldis Chapman, as good as he is and as viable as he is still as a potential setup guy and closer. Do we need him? I think we really need starting pitching. The other topics involving the Padres. Fernando Tatis is 0 for the season right now with home runs, although he's starting to really get base hits and sting the ball. Tatis has got a massive financial issue. The judge in this lawsuit in San Diego has ruled against Tatis, ordered him to pay big league advance $3.5 million in back fees and legal fees. Now, the history, Tatis, when he was age 17, signed a document that gave him $2 million advance money. As a trade-off, he would give up 10% of his future earning power. Well, here's a $340 million contract. That's a $34 million payment that he owes his company, Big League Advance. He says they're an illegal lender in the eyes of the U.S. government. He's filed a lawsuit here in California to get that contract voided, but at this point, he's not winning that case. So that's a big issue for Tatis. And Manny Machado continues to stumble around and be defiant in his interviews with the media that there's anything wrong. However, Sportico, sports website, which does a lot of research projects on baseball, done an investigative look at Manny Machado's last 3 years. John, this is shocking. Manny Machado's bat rate, his swing rate, has gone from 76% to 71% in 3 years. Bat rate means, are you getting around on pitches? And his fast swing rate, get this, in 3 years, has gone from 66 miles an hour down to 37 miles an hour on pitches over 95 miles per hour. That's a radical drop. And that's why Machado is hitting what Machado is hitting. You know, we did this breakdown since April 28th, heading into this past weekend. Machado is batting 102. He's lost his ability to get around pitches. And Sportico, which studies all these metrics, came up with this story about him on the weekend. So, John, start with the Padres, the one-off on Michael King. Walk me through how scary the Phillies seem to be right now. Would you make a Red Sox trade? Tatis and money, Machado and fastball. The podium belongs to you as we talk baseball.
Lee, you're loading up the list of things to discuss. All right, let's break this down on a couple of levels. Number one, it was disappointing not to sweep the A's, but it was that Saturday game was just really weird how they won 2-0 with only 2 hits. You know, so it's just so frustrating as a Padre fan. And to your point, Tatis, Machado, Jackson Merrill, they're not what they used to be. Although I will say Tatis got 3 hits on Sunday, which isn't bad. But, yeah, the Phillies are coming to town. That should be a great series, another test to see if they can get through a tough team in the National League. The Red Sox rumor, here's what I think AJ is going to do, is he's, getting a Aroldis Chapman, get him in a deal, and I think he might flip, like they were saying, Laureano or France, maybe a prospect, get Chapman. But then I could see a second shoe dropping and Preller then flipping some of his surplus in the bullpen, whether it's a Morahone or a Jason Adam or a Jeremiah Estrada, and flipping that guy to get someone else that is a bigger bat than a Ty France or someone that they gave up. I mean, what do you think of that?
Not much, because you still haven't solved the starting pitching lack of depth. I thought you were going to say, okay, we'll trade somebody else, one of those relievers, and go get somebody else's starting pitching. See, you make the Chapman trade, you're taking on $12 million, which means That's more luxury tax. That's a $24 million addition to your roster. So I don't think they need Chapman. I think they need to go find a starting pitcher and use your assets to make that deal work. Tough call.
Definitely a tough call, Lee.
Okay, your response to Tatis and money and the Sportico report on Machado's swing and miss.
Yeah, the Machado thing, you could sometimes suspect it when you see the bat speed, and if the ball's on the inner half, he can be quick, like a cat. But when the ball is in that down and away, it's almost like a wave, and you could tell the bat speed isn't what you think it should be. So you kind of wonder, but Machado is a problem, but he's not the bigger problem to solve. The bigger problem is Fernando Tatis. He's the guy that we need to get straight. Now, the 3 hits yesterday was great, but yeah, dude signed that contract. I don't know how they're going to set, because that contract, I'd assume, was legal in the DR. So trying to say it's illegal in California, I don't know if that's going to fly. I mean, and I still don't understand why he signed the deal in the first place to get a $2 million advance when his father is a former pro player. So I don't know. Tatis has got a lot of stuff on his mind. This, besides a lot of the other rumors about his personal life and everything else. I mean, dude, I just want his head to be clear so he can play ball.
Okay, that's all things Padres. You're a Padre fan. Fans Forum chat box is open. Pick any of those topics that we put on the table. Jump on board. Let's go from Padre baseball, because we're baseball centric. The Dodgers are in first place, and they're starting to pull away.
Dodgers.
Let's talk about the Dodgers. Tell you what, that was pretty impressive what they did in Milwaukee. They go in there and they beat the first place team in the National League Central, and they battered them. They won 2 out of 3 there. The Dodgers are 33-20, and here comes Colorado to Dodger Stadium. So the Dodgers right now seem to be on the brink of maybe putting some distance between themselves and everybody else in the National League West. The bigger story, though, is the continued comments from Brandon Gomes and from Andrew Friedman that, yes, we are short on starting pitching. Yes, we have concerns about Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow. And yes, we are pursuing. And the report out of Detroit, the Dodgers have called the Tigers about Tarek Skubal. Skubal is now healthy. Detroit's season looks like it's gone away from them because of injuries to virtually everybody in their starting rotation. So it begs the question, Dodgers got a lot of resources. They could get Tarek Skubal. You add him to the front of that rotation, wow. And that, I think, from an economic standpoint, even though he brings a big contract with him, that to me probably bears some credibility that could happen. They've also obviously talked to the Mets about Freddie Peralta. They've talked to Miami about Alcantara. But suddenly in Detroit, they are reporting today, their insiders are reporting the Dodgers talked to the Tigers yesterday about Tarek Skubal. Wow. John, they got the assets to make a deal, and the Dodgers, being the Dodgers, are not afraid to take on big contracts. And Andrew Friedman has a history of making these type of transactions. You think it's doable?
Dodgers are going to do what the Dodgers want to do. I mean, it's just so classic that they be in on Skubal. Now, what's your take on Sasaki? I mean, he looked a little better maybe pitching, but he had that wild throw to Freddie Freeman at first base. Is he someone you could count on?
I think you can count on him, and they believe that he has mastered the forkball as now the third pitch. He's had about 3 pretty decent starts in a row. Not dominant, but 3 starts where he'd go 5 innings, 6 innings. His walks are down. His pitch counts are a little bit down. So they think that he's kind of figured this out a little bit. But obviously, the train of thought in the Dodger front office now is we got a problem with Snell and we got a problem with Glasnow. We're going to have to do something. And I wouldn't rule out Skubal for certain. Okay, that's Dodger baseball. Let's talk about the Angels. What a unique set of circumstances there at the Big A this weekend, John.
Yeah, big rumors.
Big rumors. The Angels won 3 in a row against Texas. Texas's pitching staff has completely collapsed. Somehow the Angels won 3 low-scoring games. And last night, in the Sunday night game of the week, I said to myself, why would they ever put the Angels on Sunday night TV with what they've done the last 8, 9, 10 years? Last night, Reed Detmers throws a one-hitter, retires 24 of the 25 batters he faced. He struck out 14 Ranger batters, and the Angels won. Angels swept Texas. Texas, of course, is in disrepair. The Angels are in pretty bad disrepair. The Halos are 20-34 on the season. So that was a bit of a surprise. The other surprise is a story that's coming from back east, Boston. Boston talking to a lot of people about a lot of different deals. Boston's approached the Angels about Mike Trout. Boston, they got a load of people to shop. They could include a whole bunch of people if Mike Trout wanted to exit this hopeless situation in Anaheim. At this point, the Angels have not asked Trout if he would consider, because I've asked him before and he said no. He's asked them, would you consider waiving the no-trade clause? Price, I was told out of Boston, might involve the young outfielder Jarren Duran, the young middle infielder Marcelo Meyer, and pitching prospects. And Boston's got a very good farm system, but Trout has to waive the no-trade clause. And in typical Angel fashion, General Manager Perry Minasian went shopping on the weekend, aisle 4 at Dollar General. He signed another refugee pitcher, Taijuan Walker, who had just been let go by the Phillies. His ERA was 9.72. Hey, he looks like an Angel pitcher. We'll bring him in. They just signed Taijuan Walker, sent him to Salt Lake City on a rehab. This is just another rental at 25 cents from aisle 3 or aisle 4 at Dollar General. I don't think he can pitch in Anaheim, but the Angels are bringing him in. So those are two storylines there. Should they ask Trout to consider this? Do you think Trout would ever consider this going back home, if you will, to the East Coast, considering Boston's got an awful lot of good young players that might change the face of Angel baseball? John, what do you think?
Free Mike Trout. Get him out of Anaheim. The man deserves better. I mean, going to Boston, that'd be all right. Hey, Marcelo Meyer and that deal, that's a local San Diego SoCal guy. He's playing shortstop now for the Red Sox, went to East Lake High School in Chula Vista. Yep. Be great to have him back in SoCal, but the Angels, I mean, you hate to say goodbye to Mike Trout, but they need to turn the page and kind of rebuild and build a new identity, don't you think, Lee?
Well, here's the most agonizing thing about Angel baseball at this hour. You got Trout, and you're wasting his career. You had Ohtani, and you could have stockpiled a lot of talent if you moved him once you decided you weren't going to re-sign him, and you didn't do that. And you didn't take the step forward when Ohtani offered you the creatively financed deal. Hey, give us this with all this deferred money, and we'll stay. They didn't do that. So, you know, what book of operation are the Angels operating under? Because you got these two marquee players, and you've wasted their careers, and you had a chance, if you weren't going to keep them and couldn't put good people around them, you had a chance to go into the marketplace, move them, and just get a truckload of talent in return. So just a mystery, the way that they're operating the business. Hey, John, one other baseball note here. I just want to make a commentary about what we just saw in college baseball. And we don't talk about this at great length because the interest is kind of limited. San Diego State, they win the Mountain West Conference tournament under Kevin Vance, their new coach who came from the University of Arizona. He brought in a load of transfers. They had a really good season. They go to the Mountain West Conference tournament after winning the Mountain West regular season. And they get to the tournament, and even though they were the top seed, because everybody's invited to the party in the Mountain West, they had to play 4 games in 3 days. They ran out of pitching on Sunday night, and they wound up losing in an elimination game, fighting their way out of the loser's bracket, got beat by Washington State, and they're no longer in consideration for going to the NCAA Regionals, which is the trip to the College World Series in Omaha. I just asked this question. You have slugged your way through an entire Mountain West Conference schedule. You won 36 games, and then you have to prove yourself again in a Mountain West Conference tournament when the have-nots in the conference, like New Mexico and Air Force, come back into the tournament and get lucky and beat up one of your pitchers, and you have to burn your pitching staff before you even get to the final game. What justice is that? So it's too bad. Aztec baseball took a big bounce back with new leadership. You know, they had 4 straight substandard seasons. Just really not been the same program since Tony Gwynn passed away. But how unfair is this? You go 36-24, and you don't get a chance to go to the regionals with a pitching staff that they had brought in here that was really good and a bunch of young bats too. I kind of felt bad for San Diego State last night.
Yeah, tough break for the Aztecs, but it kind of makes you wonder, like in the world of baseball, is the Power Four as big of a deal, as it is in football and basketball, So I always kind of thought that Mountain West baseball, you would think, and Big West baseball for smaller conferences would be competitive at the highest level.
Well, I think the Power Four still wield impact because the Power Fours are coming in here and taking your players. That's still happening. San Diego State lost some good players last year, even though they had a substandard season. They lost some good guys who transferred to higher power teams. I think that's going to continue. But obviously, Kevin Vance knows where pitchers are, and pitching, I think, is really, really critical at the SDSU level. But I just thought the whole Mountain West Conference tournament was really unfair to a team that had already proven itself in the conference. Why did they come back and have to play these guys again? And then you have one bad game and you burn up your whole pitching staff and you don't have enough pitchers, enough arms left when you have to play 4 games in 3 days coming out of the losers bracket. I kind of felt real bad. So anyhow, that's the item from the Aztec notebook in baseball. John, let's go to basketball.
Basketball. I mean, what a crazy weekend. NBA games, Lee. What do you got?
We got some people in trouble. Oklahoma City, get this, 72-14 going into the series with San Antonio, and the series is now 2-2. And now it's become a best of 3. And OKC is injured, and that's a real problem. I don't know if you glanced at all to what happened last night. San Antonio stomped them 103-82, even the series at 2 games apiece. Now they go back to OKC. Spurs went on a 21-5 burst in the second quarter. Oklahoma City never recovered. Wembanyama wound up with 33 in the San Antonio win. OKC shot 33% from the game, had 17 turnovers and 10 shots were blocked. That's a total of 27 possessions in which Oklahoma City got no points. Right now, San Antonio has really come together. And OKC, their bench, which was really good, is now really hurt. They don't have Jalen Williams with the re-injured hamstring. Now they lost A.J. Mitchell. He's gone down with a calf injury. And suddenly, Caruso and friends who had done so well are struggling to score. So now it's a best-of-3 series, and Oklahoma City has yet to figure out how they're going to slow down Wembanyama. We could have a shocker of shocker coming that OKC, who many thought was about to win its second straight championship with the MVP for the second year in a row, they're on the ropes. Meanwhile, got the Knicks and the Cavaliers. New York goes for the kill tonight. They lead 3-0. Kenny Atkinson, the Cavaliers coach, is catching so much heat. Mike Brown, the Knickerbocker coach, is getting accolades everywhere. Knicks basketball had a history of Jalen Brunson and everybody else. As long as Brunson got his points, everything was fine. Well, what Mike Brown did was he spent the entire season defining roles. They're scoring unbelievable amounts of points from guys off the bench to complement Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Knicks have won 10 straight playoff games. They're 10-0 in the postseason. And in terms of Cleveland and Atkinson, wow, Atkinson is catching so much flack. They got blown out in one game. They let the Knicks go on a 30-8 run in the fourth quarter. And Atkinson had all these timeouts in his pocket, had all those guys sitting on the bench, didn't make any substitutions. And Atkinson is just catching so much flack. And the Knicks are leaning all over Cleveland's three-point shooters. Donovan Mitchell's game has gone away. James Harden's game has gotten very erratic in the postseason. And Cleveland looks like it's about to go away on vacation. Portland, a lot of controversy with the owner, Tom Dundon, about staff layoffs. Now there's controversy about who they're interviewing. Now, this is kind of unique. This story just got out last night. They've been interviewing all assistant coaches. Nobody recognizes who these guys are. And the insinuation was, Dundon's going to hire cheap. They just interviewed Jeff Van Gundy, longtime Knicks coach, very successful coach, broadcaster, currently right-hand man to Tyronn Lue with the Clippers. They just interviewed Van Gundy. He'd be a great addition. I don't know what the price tag is, but that's the first marquee name that the new owner of the Trailblazers has interviewed. And guess who called over the weekend? I don't know that I'd touch him. I don't know that he'd come work for what Dundon wants to pay. Jason Kidd, just fired in Dallas last week. He's been with 3 different clubs, but he's lost his job 3 different times. Jason Kidd wants to interview there. So, John, here's the basketball. Don't turn it over like OKC is doing or the Cavaliers are doing. Let's talk hoops. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a hell of an NBA playoff. And we said in the very beginning that this Western Conference final is the NBA final. It's turning out that way. It's just interesting how the players can be so dominant one game, and then the other team has a new scheme to figure out how to shut them down. So, you got a lot of 3D chess going on in this game, in this series. But I want to talk about the Knicks for a minute. Now, this is kind of a little bit of a weird tangent, but you ever watch on CNN? There's this program called Table of Five. You know, and Abby Phillip hosts it, and they go around. They argue about politics, but at the end, sometimes they'll have a hot take or a big surprise or a prediction. And some of them on that show are saying this is the year the Knicks are going to win. And so I like to see when sports, it's big within the world of sports, but when it crosses over into the other media, it's kind of interesting.
It is very interesting, and Mike Brown is getting a lot of accolades because he took what was a one-dimension team led by a very flamboyant guard and has made it collectively a pretty good basketball team. Okay, that's all things NBA. We got a college basketball note here that just kind of came out of nowhere, and it's not real good news for San Diego State.
Yeah, a terrible injury.
Aztecs have been so active in the transfer portal. They've rebuilt their roster with Europeans. And now the focal point transfer that they brought in is gone. Nick Anderson, high-scoring guard from Rice, really good basketball player, gone for the year. Torn ligament, torn meniscus, working out in Houston, getting ready to come on campus for off-season workouts, gone for the year. Big setback for Brian Dutcher. Now, on top of that, he went back into the transfer portal this week, and he got himself a pretty good guard, but he's a very different guard. He got a 6'7" transfer from Oregon State who was a starter, Isaiah Sly. He averaged 10 points, 4 assists per game, but he's not the firepower guard that Nick Anderson was. Now, of course, the Aztecs have gotten a three-point shooter out of Europe. They've gotten a rebounding center forward out of Europe. But this loss of Nick Anderson is kind of a big blow to San Diego State because he brought resume and he brought high-scoring attributes with him from Rice.
I would say that was a big loss, for the Aztecs, losing the kid with the ACL injury. But I think the recruit, his last name is S-Y. I think that's what Ken Licati was commenting on in one of the Facebook groups that caters to the Aztec Nation.
Well, it's a tough loss for Anderson. We'll see if this kid from Oregon State can play. They didn't have a very good team, but it's a last-minute haul with somebody with experience. So it proves the point that Dutcher knows where a lot of good players are hidden. We get to halftime. This podcast, No Fubar, is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, this place is made for you. I invite you to go to the website, DIXIELINE.com, to check out the tools section. John, talk about who they are and who does business at DIXIELINE.
Well, let's talk about Father's Day, right? This is a great opportunity. You want to get dad something? Go to DIXIELINE Lumber. Go into their power tool section. They got all kinds of great cordless drills, cordless circular saws, a lot of different options there at DIXIELINE. And if you want to get a cool dad gift on Father's Day, they sell stud finders at DIXIELINE. Those stud finders, you slide on the wall to find the stud where you can hammer in something. Get one of those. I mean, that's kind of almost like a stocking stuffer on Father's Day. DIXIELINE can help you out there. They're the pros, when it comes to homeowners that need doors and windows and outdoor decking, or if you're a contractor or a builder, you need lumber, house trusses, you need, concrete and other building materials. DIXIELINE is your best bet. Been in San Diego 100 years, and they have a drive-through lumber yard. They'll load it up for you. DIXIELINE lumber.
And for the women or you guys watching, go to the lady in your life and say, for Father's Day, get me a gift card from DIXIELINE, DIXIELINE.com. Okay, just a couple of reminders. When we're done, because we just put a lot of hot topics on the table, you're going to bail us out. You're going to tell us what you think. It's called Fans Forum. John, turn your mic on again, please. Describe how Fans Forum works.
I was turning my mic on and off because my gardeners were like right next to me, and I'm so out of sorts since we aren't in our regular studio location. So thanks for bearing with me. Okay. Hey, we've got a lot of people that are already piled in to Fans Forum. There's a lot of discussion, Lee, about Chick Hearn in the Fans Forum. Hopefully we'll get to that. So if you have a question or comment in the world of sports, drop your hot take in the live chat on X, on YouTube, on Facebook. We'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
Just a reminder, I write about sports every day of the week. It's on the website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. I invite you to check out my best 15 minutes in sports. Read my one man's opinion column. It's kind of personal today. It is about Memorial Holiday and what it means to me. Also want you to join Hacksaw's Insiders Group. You can do that just by filling out your email address right there in the orange box on the homepage of the website. That guarantees you'll get 2 different newsletters, one from John, one from me, every day of the week into your inbox. Share, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays, normally at 1:30. Subscribe. When you subscribe, you will get the alerts every time we put additional videos up on the YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up, hit the follow button, give us a 5-star rating on Apple. It helps us a great deal. John, I'm ready for the second half. Are you?
I am, but can I just do a little tangent here? Your column on Memorial Day was excellent. It's very moving. It's very personal. Do you want to share a little bit of that for the podcast audience?
I come from a military family. Father, all my uncles were in World War II. 3 of them died. I always use the phrase when I have discussions with my sons about this piece of life isn't working out or I have this problem. I tell them, you just remember my dad was 22, a Seabee, building runways in the Pacific Theater as they were taking back the islands from Japan in World War II. He was 22 and he was taking sniper fire. Just remember that when you think about your problems. But I had an uncle who jumped into Normandy the night before the invasion. He survived, lived to the age of 95. I took his ashes to Normandy Cemetery about 5 years ago. I had my godfather was taken out by snipers in a hedgerow at Anzio in Italy. He survived 29 surgeries. His life was never the same before he passed away. Another uncle that was a very famous journalist in terrible combat situations in the Pacific with MacArthur, came back a broken man, eventually saved his life, but just went through unbelievable hell. That was before anybody knew about things like post-traumatic stress disorder, things of that nature. So I grew up in a family. I lost an uncle on the Bataan Death March at age 18 or 19. He was a Marine. I lost an uncle on B-17 over Regensburg, Germany. They called it Black Thursday. I wrote about all my experiences, and then the people I was with in high school, 7 that I went to high school with died in Vietnam while I was in college. And my family, my brothers and my sister, all career military. So today, that flag hangs proudly out in front of my house. And Memorial Day means a lot to me. I wish, in closing commentary, John, I just wish every American could go visit the cemetery at Normandy. It would change the way you feel about life if you could be there amongst those crosses. It was just spectacular. But read my one man's opinion column. It's kind of personal. I normally write about sports a lot, 99.9% of the time, but I just felt moved to write about that. Answer your question?
It did. Yeah, it was a great article. And you and I have had some offline conversations about a lot of the stories of your family members. And your uncle was a writer for the Brooklyn Dodgers, wasn't he?
He covered the Brooklyn Dodgers in the 1930s, and then he went to work for the wire service and Mutual Radio, doing reports. One of the greatest things I did with one of my cousins is my uncle passed at age 85, but everything that he had done in his life was gone. Had been lost to alcoholism and the post-traumatic stress disorder. We went back and did research. It's one of the fascinating things of the internet. Cousin and I went back and found the scripts that my uncle had written from the Pacific Theater, and we got copies of those scripts. And then I found the audio reports that he did from Mutual Radio from the Pacific Combat Zone, and I got all the links in my email that were stored at Mutual Radio. I got those links of him reporting from a ship that was under kamikaze attack, and him being on the USS Missouri the day they signed the peace treaty. And I found a picture of him sitting on the upper deck looking down as the treaty was being signed. So again, military background, I've had access to find a lot of information. That's personal. Let's go back to talk sports now.
Okay, let's talk sports, Lee. Let's go back to the NFL. You got some news and notes with quarterbacks.
Yeah, headlines. This was a bit of a surprise. Not that they signed Matthew Stafford to an extension, but it guarantees that Matthew Stafford of the Rams is going to play 2 more years. You know, he'd already announced he was coming back for another season. They had to add another year onto the contract. Matthew Stafford signs a 1-year, $55 million contract extension that'll take him through 2027. So they're locked in. The general consensus is Rams will be playing in the Super Bowl, probably at SoFi Stadium. So that was very, very intriguing that they made this determination. Now, of course, they drafted what they must feel is the quarterback of the future, the kid out of Alabama, Tyler Simpson, as strange as that was. But they got 2 years now to develop him because Stafford evidently has indicated he's going to play 2 more years. So that's that story. New York Giants, new coach John Harbaugh, new coach, new roster, new system, and he's got a problem in his locker room. Wow. This thing just kind of exploded. He inherited Jackson Dart, outstanding rookie quarterback, kid out of Ole Miss. Jackson Dart's gotten himself into political conversation. He spoke at a Republican Party gathering in which he praised your president, Donald Trump. And that did not go down in the Giant locker room. Abdul Carter, young defensive end out of Penn State, who is a strong practitioner of the faith of Islam, just went off on Jackson Dart for bringing politics into the Giant locker room. And then Hall of Famer Jumbo Elliott, legendary New York Giant, who's been very vocal about political situations in New York. Jumbo Elliott shamed Jackson Dart for going public. And he asked the question. He talked to the media and said, Jackson, what clinched Donald Trump for you? Was it January 6th? Was it the pardoning of all the criminals who were found guilty of January 6th? Was it the continued insults of military heroes? Was it the Gestapo-like treatment of people by ICE? Or was it just the outright corruption? What sold you on Donald Trump as president, those attributes? And Elliott said, don't you ever bring that back into this New York Giant locker room. Yikes. John Harbaugh, he's got his hands full with Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart. Meanwhile, Arizona, this is kind of nasty. They told Jacoby Brissett, who'd been the backup, and he's a journeyman. He's had some success playing. You're going to be the starting quarterback. Well, we find out Jacoby Brissett has $1.5 million guaranteed in his contract. That's the only guarantee he's got in his contract. And he wants a renegotiation. And he's really upset because they signed the backup, Minshew. Remember him? Journeyman quarterback? They signed Gardner Minshew to a contract with $5 million guaranteed. They're paying the backup $5 million. They're paying their starter $1.5 million guaranteed. Brissett has not come to camp. And in Philadelphia's camp, Jalen Hurts has been told by the new offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion, you're going to play under center. and you're going to learn the play action game, and you're going to make this work. We're not living lifetime shotgun. They got so much talent level there in Philadelphia, but the offense has been real skittish over the last 2 years. So this is going to be really interesting to see what the learning curve is going to be for Jalen Hurts, because Nick Sirianni, the coach, said last Friday, you got a problem with the offense? You go talk to Sean Mannion. It's his offense. Wow. So, John, we got the Rams quarterback, the Giants locker room, what's happening in Arizona, and what they told the Eagles quarterback. You got any opinions?
I do. Just on one of the stories is the Giants story with Jackson Dart, who, by the way, is just a great talent, a great kid to root for. And normally I would say, what in the hell are you doing? Why are you bringing politics into the locker room? But if you think about it, the NFL is so loaded with propaganda, and it's not just Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, and the reaction to that, but it's also the military flyovers and God bless America. And then, Trump shows up in a suite, and, the NFL, to me, of all the sports, is the one that's been most sort of politicized, and or at least it becomes very nationalist. So now you see Jackson Dart, making some comments. He was at a Trump event. Tom Brady was wearing a MAGA hat at one time. I mean, I don't know. It's weird that you can be open-minded to other people's political comments, but then you get mad at different people because of who they like and who they support.
I think the player has any right to say whatever he wants. And I think the reason there's so much reaction to the political statements and stances in the NFL is because the NFL is so popular. And everybody's got an opinion to what's happening in the NFL, maybe not so much in the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NHL. I think that's the drawing point, is everybody pays attention to what happens Monday through Sunday in the National Football League. Okay, so we go from that, and Harbaugh's going to have his hands full. How's he going to put this oil fire out? We go from that. College football. Wow. Look at this storyline here, John.
Yeah, the Pac-12 and Mountain West bleeding money.
They settled their lawsuit. Now, the details have not really become public, but the insiders are dropping hints. The Mountain West Conference went after $155 million of assets from the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 took those 5 schools from the Mountain West, the Aztecs, Boise, etc. Well, now we find out this out-of-court settlement has bled both conferences, and it's being reported that instead of getting $155 million, the Mountain West has got to settle for $60 million, because evidently they were going to lose this lawsuit. They get $60 million. The problem is the Mountain West does not have a very good TV contract, and the Mountain West promised Vegas, Air Force Academy, and a few others significant guaranteed paydays. And part of the guaranteed paydays to stay in the Mountain West for UNLV, Air Force Academy, and a few others was the fact they're going to get all this money from the Pac-12. And instead of getting 155, it looks like they're going to get only 60 million. And they got to spread that amongst everybody that is left in the old Mountain West Conference. This is a big, big blow. One other side note, the NCAA is going to do this. The committee has just reported that they will vote June 22nd, John, on changing the transfer portal rule and changing eligibility. And they're going to adopt 5 in 5. You got 5 years. They get 5 years playing time, no exceptions. Now, does that mean no exceptions for somebody that suffers a catastrophic injury? There won't be an injury waiver? Does that mean no exception for players who go to BYU or Utah and go on Mormon missions and are gone for a year or 2 out of their life? No waivers for that anymore. So this fight is probably going to go on, but they're going to vote on the 5 in 5 rule on June 22nd. John, you got any loose money in your wallet you want to donate to the Pac-12 or the Mountain West? And what do you think about 5 in 5?
Why did the Pac-12 and the Mountain West not just merge? I mean, you're only taking 2 teams from the Pac-12 and moving them in. It just made so much sense. They've had this unnecessary gunfire. They're blowing money, paying lawyers. I mean, this is just nonsense. And now the Mountain West is worse than it was. I think combined, they would have been better. Don't you think, Lee?
Except they did not want half the teams in the Mountain West that don't bring anything to the table. With apologies to my friends in Wyoming, what does Wyoming bring to the table? Outside of basketball, New Mexico doesn't really bring very much. And the rest of those programs outside of Vegas, but Vegas is not a national power. Vegas is a city. Vegas is UNLV Rebels. That's not football, basketball power. So I don't think that they brought very much to the table. They might have taken Vegas, but Vegas opted out. Everybody loves the Air Force Academy, but just because of their limitations and their academic requirements, they don't get that same type of athlete. So do you want the Air Force Academy in the Pac-12? They took the flag carriers. They took the really good programs, what Boise's become in football, what the Aztecs have become in basketball, and added a few others. So I guess that's a generic answer. Half those teams in the Mountain West didn't bring anything to the table.
Yeah, but now they're just, wasting money and just throwing good money after bad on this whole thing. Hey, on the 5-5, I like that idea for a number of reasons. The most important is that it's a simple rule. There's not like exception A, exception number 23, this, if that, then this. It's just simplified. Now, to your point with what do you do about BYU, they're probably going to have to put some kind of an age cap on this, because you don't want to have like 26, 27-year-old grown men, whether they be a BYU senior, that had already done 2 years on a mission and is now 6 years past high school, or if it's a European pro coming in. And so there seems to need to be like a cap on this, because the college ball is not for grown men. I mean, the NBA is for grown men. I mean, college ball, I think, really should be, 23, maybe 24 as a cap? What do you think, Lee?
Well, I think it's going to happen. Now, at the end of the day, is somebody going to try to sue them again? Or will the NCAA have a leg to stand on and say, take it to the Supreme Court. We're not letting you play because every institution voted for this. And again, this is all the offshoot of the NIL. This is the offshoot of the transfer portal, which has totally gotten out of control. So I'd like to see an age cap. But, you got the invariable of guys that suffer significant injuries. But, hey, you play the game, you get hurt. You still got 5 to get 5. If 2 of them are because you're rehabbing injuries, so be it.
Now, hypothetically, could you play 5 years in a row?
Yes.
Wow. So not limited to 4.
Exactly. They would expand it, but there'll be no redshirt year. You get 5 to get 5. I don't know how they're going to handle the argument about the injury waiver. Obviously the BYU, the Utahs, the Mormon issue, that's another thing there. Okay, you got opinions on the NFL. You got opinions in college football. Fans Forum chat box is open. We go from that. Hockey hotline is open.
Oh, just the hockey has just been unbelievable, Lee. What do you got for us?
We got big games. You got Montreal playing tonight at home. If you've never seen the pregame festivity at Bell Center in Montreal, where they sing "O Canada" in French, just turn on the TV tonight, even if you're not a hockey fan, just to experience that. It's legendary. So now you got Montreal in action tonight. That series has been so close, so tight, and Montreal has established itself as a very, very dangerous hockey team because they can skate and they can fly, and they've caused Carolina a lot of problems. Carolina had a great season, but right now Carolina's having a tough time keeping up with the Montreal team's speed, and Montreal's goaltender, Jacob Dobush, is just on his head. He's big and physical, and he has no fear. He's a rookie. Amazing. The other series, what's befallen the Colorado Avalanche, they're beat up. They're in trouble. They're down 3-0 to Las Vegas. Last night was the desperation game. Colorado was out to a 3-0 lead, and Vegas came back. And Vegas just kept coming back and wound up winning the game. And now Colorado's got another injury problems. First, they were without Cole Makar, their great defenseman. He's back. Now they lost Nathan McKinnon, who sadly took a slap shot off his kneecap. He could not skate. I don't know that he's going to play tomorrow night. So these playoffs have just been absolutely electric. Montreal series, watch the opening ceremony. It's a 5:00 start tonight. Just watch the beginning of it if you don't pay any attention to the game. But it is historic. It is indeed electric. John?
Yeah, you turned me on to the opening or the national anthem in Edmonton, where the guy gets up there and leads the whole crowd. And so this seems kind of similar. So yeah, that's great for tuning in and checking that out. Now, all regular season, you were saying that the Avalanche were the world beaters. They had this, Western, conference locked up. Why have they fallen in this series? What have the Golden Knights done different?
Well, now they got their top two players have been hurt. Cole McCarr, the defenseman, is the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. He is a table setter. Everything they do offensively, everything they do on a power play. He is so gifted, and he's been out. Now he's back and he's trying to play. He's got two different injuries. Led to believe one of them is a hand injury, the other is an ankle injury, but he's on the ice. He finally played a game. Now McKinnon, who scored 53 goals, he took a shot off his kneecap very early in the game last night, could not skate. He tried the rest of the first period, second period, third period, just to play on the power play. He's just got no push on his right knee right now, so he's out. So, those are two firepower guys that are out. And that's why suddenly Colorado is in a huge, huge amount of trouble. Vegas is really good. Vegas has got a lot of skaters. Vegas got a hot goaltender. Hart has just been phenomenal in goal. And he's the one, if you recall, do you remember we talked about the London 5 hockey trial? The five hockey players who were suspended for 2 years on potential rape charges, and it was a lawsuit, and they wound up winning the lawsuit, and the girl lost the lawsuit. Well, Carter Hart was a goaltender of the Flyers, and he was in that trial. He did not play for 2 years. Vegas acquired him in a trade or signed him in a trade when he was a free agent. Philly let him go because of the court case. And this kid from January on became the star goaltender. He is red hot right now for Vegas.
Oh, right on. That's a great story.
Okay. Hockey Hotline is open for business. So Canada Network, you can join us. We go from that. We got soccer to talk about. Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here on the high-speed SportsWire. Lots of soccer.
Let's talk about hot headlines. Team USA officially announces its 26-man roster for the World Cup tomorrow. Information has already been leaked out from the London Guardian. Coach Mario Pochettino is going young. This might be the best collection of firepower that Pochettino has. We all know about Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Matt Turner, veterans. He has added Gio Reyna, Haji Wright, Ricardo Pepi, Alejandro Zendejas, Bren Aronson, Sebastian Berhalter. They're all going to be on the 26-man roster. Surprisingly, he left two players off. Tanner Tessman, veteran of MLS, and young star Diego Luna did not get added to the roster. Now, Pochettino looked at 73 players over the course of this year when they played all their friendlies. He looked at 73 players, came up with 26. Landon Donovan, legendary USA player, all-time leading scorer, says this is the greatest firepower any U.S. soccer team has ever had going towards the World Cup. So that's a big story there. Next one is the Iranian flag. Team Iran, their country under bombardment, their country threatened by the president, the White House, the problems with visa. They had just moved to their World Cup training headquarters in Tucson. They've moved out. They've decided to go to Mexico to train because they don't think they have enough security from the United States at their training facility. They checked in and they promptly checked out. Team Iran is going to prepare for the World Cup in Mexico. They are going to play their games, obviously, in the U.S., and there's still a lot of concern as to whether there'll be protests, things of that nature. The next flag is the Congo flag in Africa. FIFA and the White House jointly ordered Team Congo to isolate for 21 days, not to play any friendly matches. Now, the team is in Belgium training. They've been ordered to shut down and isolate in Belgium for 21 days because of the tragic Ebola outbreak back in their home country. So they're really off limits. Elsewhere in soccer, Manchester City saying goodbye to Pep Guardiola. He retires as head coach after 10 years. He led them to 20 different trophies in a 10-year span. Meanwhile, the English Premier League season came to an end. The English Championship season, which is the first level down, came to an end. 3 teams have been promoted from Championship League to the EPL. Hull, Ipswich, and Coventry are all going up to the EPL. 3 teams, the 3 bottom teams in the English Premier League, are demoted and knocked out. West Ham, Wolverhampton, and Burnley, all demoted. They lose $270 million in revenue sharing by getting bumped out of the English Premier League. And SDFC, San Diego Soccer, MLS, battered at home by the Vancouver Whitecaps. We get to the mid-season break of MLS, and the burning question, they've won only 1 of their last 13 matches. The novelty of SDFC soccer has now gone away. Their crowds are way down. What is ownership going to do to fix the roster during this break when we get to the next transfer portal? MLS has taken a 7-week break because of the World Cup. Everybody in Europe has taken a 7-week break. What are they going to do to fix this roster? Because this roster obviously needs to be fixed. They got killed by the Vancouver Whitecaps on Saturday night. And the last topic is golf. That was the Byron Nelson Golf Classic. And I thought, this thing is over. On Friday, Si-Woo Kim shot a 60 in the second round, went to the top of the leaderboard, and I said, this thing is over. Scotty Scheffler, these guys are not going to be able to catch him. I was wrong. I'm hardly ever wrong. Understand that. Wyndham Clark yesterday, 9 birdies and an eagle. He shot a 60, and he blew by everybody on the leaderboard, and he beat Si-Woo Kim and Scotty Scheffler, who finished second and third. A 60. We had 2 60s in a span of a couple of days in Fort Worth at the Byron Nelson Classic. It was pretty electric golf. So, John, corner kick me some opinions on soccer. Take it from there.
You know, I'm excited for the World Cup, but do you sense that America is excited? There's been a lot of talk about how there's been sort of a general malaise amongst, the casual American sports fan if they're ready for the World Cup. And we've talked about, the ticket prices, but I'm thinking more, what's the buzz? Is this going to capture, the imagination of sports fans? What do you think, Lee?
I think that's an unbelievably valid question, because I don't get a sense there's any buzz at all. And I say, how can this be? But at the end of the day, there's no buzz because of the corruption from FIFA. This ticket price scandal has betrayed the soccer fans of the world. I mean, we have games that have less than 50% sellout because the fees that they're charging are beyond outrageous. That's item one. The second thing, this buzz has gone away because of your president and him threatening to put ICE agents and security details around the stadium. In essence, we're threatening to arrest any soccer fan that shows up. We have every right to investigate who the hell is coming to these games from these foreign countries. The third thing is the visa situation. They wanted to charge $15,000 travel visa for people coming from all these different countries whose teams are playing. So this thing has blown up in the face, but I blame FIFA. I blame FIFA more than I blame anything else, although I happen to think the White House has been a big negative towards this thing. I get no sense of excitement at all. Now, maybe that'll change, but maybe the fans will stay home and just watch it on TV and root for Team USA and wait to see how great Argentina is or what the English side can be, etc. But boy, you're correct. I see no buzz at all, and those are the people with blood on their hands because of this. They've wrecked what could have just been maybe the greatest World Cup of all time. That's my opinion. Yours?
Yeah. I mean, it was weird, like $15,000, to come to America to go to to essentially to come and watch your team play in the World Cup. That was insane. That was stupid. I just remember like last season, San Diego FC got off to, it was a great season. They almost made it to the finals, and there was a lot of, good soccer vibes, And now San Diego FC, a little bit down, but that's just San Diego, but the rest of the United States, I hope it turns into a surprise, good feel event. And by the way, I'm kind of bummed about Diego Luna. I mean, I remember watching him play, and he reminded me of Josh Naylor of the Cleveland Guardians, kind of a big, strong, kind of stocky guy. But he was fast. He was a capable player. That was a bummer. And it's too bad that, like the situation with Iran. I mean, obviously there's a lot going on with the war and everything else, but you would hope that at a international sporting event that nations at that level could just sort of lay off each other and just be good sports about it. So I don't know. That just seems troubling to me.
In terms of Diego Luna, now this 26-man roster is what they'll bring to camp in a couple of weeks. You get injuries, Luna could be activated and put back onto that roster. But as Landon Donovan said, you look at the makeup of this roster, starting with Pulisic through Balogun, and then all the young guys who have all had spurts where they've contributed in international play and friendlies. And some of these guys have played very well for their teams in England or in Germany. This looks like great firepower. Team USA, I think, has the ability to get to the group of 16, which is the knockout round. And of course, we're going to start with 48 teams. So there'll be great opportunities for this young team to come together. I'll be fascinated to see if this chemistry is right. And if indeed, as Landon Donovan says, this is the greatest firepower Team USA has ever had. Okay, it's your turn to take over. Fans Forum now for the next hour or so on our Monday bonus podcast. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, with 8 locations to serve you in San Diego, with Father's Day just around the corner. A gift card for Dad from DIXIELINE would be a great Father's Day gift. Go to DIXIELINE.com and check out the tools section, all the things they have to offer. John, I'm ready. Yeah, I bet there's a few people with a few opinions, because I'll tell you, we just covered a lot of territory, a lot of topics on the table.
We did. Hey, let's kick it off with Teamer 20 talking Angels. Hey, Angels surprisingly sweep the Rangers.
Yes, Texas is in a state of disrepair. So many injuries with their pitching. But here's the question. I want Angel fan. Just don't give me a generic comment. Surprise sweep of the Rangers. Angel fan. Should they trade Mike Trout? Should Mike Trout waive the no-trade clause? Him going to Boston be a huge difference maker for Boston. The price you could get out of Boston's farm system could really make a difference with the Angels. That's what I want to hear from an Angel fan. Your opinion is invited there. But yeah, at the end of the day, though, they still don't have enough pitching. And at the end of the day, they still got too many guys hitting under 226 in that batting order right now. Next one, John.
Yeah, I was just say that whole division, aren't they all below 500? I mean, It's kind of a mess over there. All right, let's go to our friend Callan. Hey, afternoon, gents. What a tribute to Kyle Busch this weekend. I also wrote about Memorial Day on my Substack as well. My question, where should expectations be for the U.S. men's national team for the World Cup? You just said it. They want to get to the group of 16.
Yeah, group of 16. No bumps along the road, but they need firepower. I think the most intriguing story going to this thing is Christian Pulisic. Do you know he's not scored a goal in 28 matches? That includes his time with AC Milan during the season and all the friendly he's played with Team USA. He's scoreless, has no goals in his last 28 international matches. Now, it's not that he hasn't had opportunities. He just has not put the ball in the back of the net. He's missed some shots. He's had some headers that have hit the crossbar, etc. They need goals from him. But I'm going to be fascinated to see what they get out of, Balogun, what they get out of Pepe. Is Reyna the real deal? And Reyna has played better, even though he's had injury problems abroad in Germany. What are they getting out of England? I mean, they've got some firepower guys coming from there. So the support around Pulisic is going to be the difference maker, but they got to get Pulisic on court. John?
Yeah, Pulisic needs to get together with Tatis. They can figure out how to solve their OFER problem when it comes to goals or for home runs. All right, let's go here to Showtime LA. Dodgers seem best equipped to get Skubal. Man, Skubal, Yamamoto, and Ohtani in a playoff series, and you're down 3-0 in a flash.
Well, the unique thing is that the Dodgers still have a group of pitchers at AAA. A couple of them are coming back from injury. River Ryan looks like he's about ready to make somebody's rotation. They are loaded at AA. They've got a great shortstop. They've got 3 to 4 really good, highly regarded outfielders. So that to me, the Dodgers have the firepower and resources to make a trade with Detroit. And Detroit's season is just totally unraveled. I mean, it started with Verlander getting hurt, Mize, who's in the middle of that rotation, has been out, and then obviously Skubal with the elbow surgery, although Skubal is now back throwing batting practice, and they say he'll be back much sooner. If he's a trade to the Dodgers, it's probably not a short-term rental because Skubal's got free agency just around the corner. But they would trade for Skubal to sign Skubal and keep him. But the Dodgers are the ones that have the wealth at a lot of different levels in their farm system to make a transaction. Showtime, good comment there. John, next one.
Next one. Okay, here, let's go to Daniel. Hey, Hacksaw, do you think the President's Trophy curse is real? Also, are the Canadiens the real deal? I think they can win the Cup.
If you get a hot goaltending in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you can go deep. You know, the prime example, Montreal, with Dobish, the European who played at Ohio State for 2 years. What that kid has done in goal in terms of big saves and leadership and toughness, pretty impressive. And if you don't have good goaltending, you go on summer vacation really early. Just ask any of the teams that we thought were pretty good whose goaltending went belly up. If you don't have good goaltending, you're in a world of hurt. Carter Hart in Vegas solved their problems because when this season began, I thought to myself, I don't think they got enough goaltending. And then they got Hart from Philadelphia in that trade after he was reinstated after the rape trial. That kid is standing on his head and he is playing great, great hockey. But, at the end of the day, if Tampa's goaltending isn't better, Tampa's on vacation. Same thing with a whole bunch of these other teams. Buffalo, as good as Buffalo's regular season was, their goaltending, especially in the Montreal series, really shaky. You don't have good goaltending, you're in big trouble. Montreal does at this hour.
Let's keep moving, Lee. Let's go here to music to my ears. MLB promotes mental health awareness. In my opinion, Machado needs to talk to a mental health specialist. Being in the public eye can lead to frustration, burnout, and stress. In my opinion, it could help him and his game.
Well, he needs help with his swing. The Sportico investigative report, and I just wrote about it yesterday, and I got access to it, that he's lost so much mile per hour strength on his swing. Does he hit home runs? Yeah. If a guy leaves the ball out down low and he gets the meat part of the bat on it, he'll pop it. But he's not getting around on breaking stuff. He's not getting around on high fastball stuff up here. That's why his batting average is so anemic. And, if indeed he's lost his bat speed, you got a problem because you got 7 more years of that contract and $40 million per year over the next 7 years. Wow. Is it between the ears? Is it headspace? I don't know. Guys wake up old. Now he's 31 and he's played. The greatest part about Manny Machado, he plays every day. And he's still playing, for the most part, pretty good defense. But there's a wear and tear factor. Maybe that's the guy at the toll booth collecting tolls on him. John, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think the music to my ears might be a Dodger troll, calling out Machado needs to go to a mental health specialist. But all of these guys must be getting sort of, mental coaching, whether it's not necessarily how you manage your life, but really how you manage your mind while you're playing ball. It's got to be part of what's being talked about in the clubhouse, and there's got to be specialists there, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they got hitting coaches, and there are mental coaches, mental health coaches that are there that can help them through whatever problems they might have, baseball related and personal related. But if you got an aging player and his bat speed goes away, or there's an injury factor there, your career is going to look different, and your career could end quicker than normal. I don't know that Machado has back problems or shoulder problems. He's had some nagging injuries, but bat speed does go away. And if you don't have your bat speed, how do you catch up to these guys that are throwing 100 all the time? Okay, John, next one.
Next one. All right, let's more Padre talk. This is with Richard. Hey, to answer the question, is San Diego sports media soft? Media is afraid of Manny, treats media with snarky answers, and he gets away with it. Thank the God the Dodgers didn't sign this punk.
Well, that was his reputation coming from Baltimore. Did not have a good reputation the way it ended up with the Dodgers. Came here, the reputation preceded him here, but he worked really hard, and he became a cornerstone of this team. And I really felt for a chunk of time that the influence of Preller and Seidler had a lot to do with it. Peter's gone. AJ trying to get this thing to the World Series. Manny's gone through a bad time, and he's gotten snarky again with the media. Media has a right to ask the hard question. Media doesn't have a right to have an agenda, but we have a responsibility to ask the hard question. And for him to be condescending, and this past week he's been condescending to the San Diego media, I just think that's cheap. And then you start to build walls. And I'll tell you, the media will be unforgiving if you build these walls and your career continues to go down the drain. So don't blame us. We're not the messenger. He's the player. Just answer the question and have a relationship and work your way through the issue. And again, I've dealt with that in that clubhouse for a long period of time. Good guys, bad guys, etc.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think a media, the reporter, is entitled to have an agenda. Like, for example, if you're a beat writer for the Angels, I mean, I would be amplifying this, sell the team arty business. I mean, I think there are righteous causes and agendas that sports writers can have. Now, if you're just being, just trying to be an a-hole and going and attacking certain players and their personal life, whatever, yeah, I mean, set that aside. But from a business perspective, from a sports or a sports strategy perspective, I think it's okay for some of these commentators, these journalists, to have an opinion.
Concur. I have to ask him, you're hitting 102 since April 28th. What do you believe is your problem? Now, don't get snarky with me. Don't be condescending to me. You're the one that's hitting 102. What are you working on? If he doesn't want to answer it, okay, so be it. We move on to the next question. But at the end of the day, you have to ask the pertinent question without having an agenda. I want to know your inner thoughts and why you feel your game is where your game is. If you were hitting 343 at this time, I'd ask you the same question about what's different. You're seeing the ball different. Or what are the pitchers trying to do? Can you believe you're hitting with the kind of authority I'd ask him the same type of question if it was 343 versus 102. John?
I just thinking, here we are. We're like, talking about the media and the players, and you think, well, who has to face the media every game? And someone sticks a microphone in your face, and over time that can wear you out, and no one else has to handle that kind of pressure. But then I was thinking about it, like, that's what we're doing right now in Fans Forum. A lot of times the fans, Lee, come after you, with your takes on the world of sports. So I guess we all kind of go through these challenges from the peanut gallery on what they think about what we're doing or what an athlete's doing.
I don't have any problem with it. It comes with the territory. It takes 5 seconds to be nice to somebody. You create a lot of hardship if you're not nice to somebody who's just there doing your job. Now, that's not to say that there's not a lot of a-holes out there, that are guys are going in there, saying things just for the sake of saying things to get a reaction. I'm not sure that's fair to the ball player, but the ball player's got a responsibility to talk about his career, talk about the game, talk about the opposing pitcher, talk about storylines in Major League Baseball without getting pissed off. And, you can tell in the media who's a guy doing his job versus a guy that's got an agenda. You could sort that out. Then you have to solve how you're going to handle the guy with the agenda.
Okay, let's keep moving on. Hey, this is a good one from Sports Fan. He goes, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, what does it take to fire the Angels coach and clean the front office and sell the Angels team?
It comes from the realization of Artie Moreno that he's not having any more fun being an owner. It comes from the reality of he's a prisoner of the owner's box, and now he can't walk around the stadium because everybody's really upset that what he's allowed this thing to deteriorate into. And it has to be the evaluation of Artie Moreno being Artie Moreno. I've not been able to hire the right people. I made a comment maybe 2 years ago on this podcast when the Angels were going through their really bad stretch. Go meet with some of the key executives in baseball who have had success and use them as a sounding board. And at that point, John will remember, I said, go talk to Larry Lucchino about how you build an organization. Go talk to Theo Epstein about analytics in the early days and who are the best people to contact. They're not going to come work for you because they got good jobs that they probably enjoy, but they may know good people they recommend. It's obvious Artie Moreno did not do that. So now when he becomes a prisoner in the owner's box because he can't go outside because he can get booed all the time, maybe that's time to step away from it, put the thing up for sale and say, I tried and I enjoyed it for a while and it just hasn't worked. Let somebody else try it on behalf of the organization. I do think if this turns out to be another 90-loss season, that they have to remove Manassian. I don't know if Suzuki's a good manager. He's only been there 3 months, but he's only on a 1-year contract. And he was a surprise hire when other names with experience were available. But this has to come from Artie Moreno's heart that I've done as much as I can do. It worked out well early, has not worked out late. Let somebody else try. That's what I think has to happen.
Yeah, he was great when he was giving out those discounts on the beer, if you sat out in the outfield. I remember Charlie Sheen was out there. Anyways, the deal, I think if you're a fan of the Angels, it's hard. I mean, have you ever been a fan of a team where the owner or the not the players necessarily on the field, but the owner or the management was just so either corrupt or foolish or, had horrible decision-making that you eventually abandoned the team that you love? I mean, it's got to be hard.
Voice of the Chargers, Team Spanos, all that years of incompetence, or as I called it, the decade of decline. But they did eventually hire the right people. Bobby Beathard, Bobby Ross, Marty Schottenheimer. But then it got away from them again, and they moved the franchise. So, yeah, you lose your respect for ownership when you see them continuing to make a ton of bad decisions. It's not easy being a fan, especially at the Chargers. The prices are charging people right now. But yeah, you get tired. I don't know if I have a direct answer there because that's really a unique and intriguing question. I'll guarantee you right now up in Boston, they're not real happy with the Fenway Sports Group. And the Fenway Sports Group got them to the World Series. In Chicago, where they broke the curse of the Billy Goat and the Cubs won World Series, they're not happy. They've lost 9 in a row as of this hour. And suddenly their hopes of being a power in the National League Central kind of evaporated because their pitching staff has been all beat up. So this is like an emotional roller coaster for the fans. I'll guarantee you in New York, they're not happy with the Mets and the high payroll and all the guys they signed that don't seem to fit. So happens lots of places.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Oakland A's. I mean, that was a problem up there, and the fans boycotted, but they still showed love for the team when it was time to say goodbye. It's hard to give up on your own team when the ownership is making decisions that drive you bananas.
Yep, and the Athletics have that. That goes back decades upon decades, dating all the way back to Charlie O. Finley, and they even won in Charlie O's time.
Okay, let's keep moving. This is from Swellin' Sausage. Hey, basketball is nothing like it was back in the days of Magic and Bird.
There's no doubt there's great athletes on the floor right now. I mean, you just see the athleticism. It's absolutely stunning. But at the end of the day, so much traveling, lack of offense, unbelievably poor quality of play. Officiating is kind of ragtag. So there are some problems with the current NBA. But when you get to the NBA Finals, or, we thought this San Antonio-Oklahoma City series was going to be spectacular. That's pretty good basketball by an awful lot of really good athletes on the floor. But overall, in the big picture, I think the NBA's got a massive credibility problem with style of play.
It's interesting how we all have certain eras in certain sports that made us feel special at that moment in our life. Like I remember when the Lakers and the Celtics were going Magic and Bird. I remember one time I was We were down in San Felipe. You ever been down there, San
No.
Felipe? It's like right at the very tip of the Gulf of Mexico. And I remember being in there with a bunch of my college friends, and it was the playoffs. And we were watching the Lakers and the Celtics in the playoffs from a beach bar in San Felipe. And those were great memories for me. So those are great times in the NBA. But, geez, the 90s with Jordan, great times. That Laker run with Shaq and Kobe. It just seemed after Shaq and Kobe, went away, the NBA was sort of in the wilderness for a while. It's only starting to reemerge with these stars like Wemby and SGA.
I concur with you, but I think style of play is so different now, and the officiating is so poor or so hard to officiate the games because the athletes are so great in playing above the rim. I think the overall quality of play in the NBA is way, way off from what it used to be, or maybe what we remember it to be. Okay, John, move on.
Back in my day, we used to do it like this. All right. Let's go back to Sports Fan. Hey, can any broadcaster beat Chick Hearn broadcasting 3,338 consecutive Los Angeles Lakers regular season and playoff games?
I concur with that question. Unless you've experienced the wear and tear, you don't understand how hard it is. And guys get to the finish line and say, my God, how did I ever do that? I did 17 years in the NFL, 17 years in major college football, and I was doing sports talk 5 nights a week, producing my own show, doing 4 hours a night, and meet myself coming and going in the airport. And now I look back on it, as much as I loved it and enjoyed it, how the hell did I do that? And I think the toughest sport to broadcast is baseball, because it never ends. That's 162 games in 180 days in a baseball season, John. And you do get some odd games off, and you will get a rain out here and there. But you're traveling a hell of a lot. And this the wear and tear factor, and it never, ever ends. I loved the NFL because of the regimentation. We played on Sunday or we played on Monday. And I had all this week to do this, and this, and my days were fragmented as what I was doing in terms of my game prep. And by the time I got to Sunday morning to go to the stadium, I was ready. And I knew everything that needed to be known and what I was going to say and all the storylines and all that, and let the game play out. But baseball is such a grind because it just never freaking ends. I mean, you go to the stadium and there's a regimentation to that. And yes, things happen in games that you never hardly ever see. That the game changes night to night to night. But boy, there's no time to come up for air. You just go from one series to the next series, and you get on a plane. It's the same thing in the NBA. Same thing I did hockey, and the travel there is such a bitch because you play one game and you get on the plane, you go to the next city, you're on a 6-game road trip, and that's 6 flights and 6 different hotels over an 8-day or 10-day span, and being away from home. And wow. So it's neat to be part of our broadcast team and to be the guy. But I'll tell you, the grind is something. And for Chick Hearn to do that many consecutive games over that many years, spectacular. Never see it again. I don't think you'll ever see it again.
No, I mean, I'm thinking about Cal Ripken when you're going through this, the grind, the long season, everything. But 3,338 consecutive games, that's what, 40 years?
Almost.
It's got to be. I mean, that's insane. And what, I mean, have you ever met Chick Hearn? I'm sure you've crossed paths. Have you interviewed him?
Yeah, I interviewed him before he passed away. Yeah, a couple times. Nice man. Interviewed Vin Scully. Unbelievable man. So I've had the luck being a sports talk show guy who was never afraid to call anybody. The luck of interviewing great people. Scully, Mel Allen, 2 of the greatest interviews I think I've ever had. But I've interviewed all these play-by-play guys that I got to know for a long period of time. But you never take into consideration, unless you've experienced, the wear and tear factor, because the wear and tear factor just never, ever ends. Okay, John, move on.
Unbelievable. Let's move on. All right, let's go back to some Angels talk with Richard. Hey, Angels very short of talent. Zach Nato, golden sombrero on Sunday, was swinging and missing by a foot, probably shadows of a 4:20 start time.
Well, they've got some young guys, and they force-fed them all, and they're all playing. The Chanels, the Netos, the O'Hoppies, etc. But they've never added to the young guys, and that's the problem. And they are so short on pitching, and they've rushed all these pitchers to the front, and hardly any of them have done very well. And the injury factor. And now Perry Manassian's shopping at Dollar General, and he's buying every pitcher he can find that costs $1.35, and they bring them here and they break down, or they can't pitch. Virtually every guy that he got on the off season has failed. Sent a couple of them back to the minors. A couple of them are on the disabled list right now. They just don't have enough arms. And the prime example is Taijuan Walker, they just signed, who was just cut loose by Philadelphia, and he was making big money at a 9.82 ERA. So you're going to have Taijuan Walker in your rotation with Grayson Rodriguez, whose ERA is in the 10s. Oh my goodness. It's tough to fix it when it gets broken, and they were really broken, and they went way downhill. And they in the Manassian era, they have not drafted well. Nato is a fine player. Chanel's a fine player. O'Hoppe, although he doesn't hit a ton, is a really good player, but they just don't have enough of these guys. And they have virtually no pitching at all in their bargain basement shopping. I don't know, John, you tell me. Am I being too critical? Am I being harsh?
No,
you might just tell the truth.
We've been calling it like it is with the Angels. That we asked a lot of questions about that franchise. Hard to understand. It's another franchise that's hard to understand right now are the San Francisco Giants. I was just seeing that they have like the lowest walk rate of any team in Major League Baseball, and they're just really anemic on offense. So, we got trouble with batting and with the Padres. We've got trouble all over the place with the Angels. The Giants can't hit. It just makes you wonder if something is different in baseball this year. I mean, it's obviously ABS is going on, but how do you explain this like down cycle in hitting?
It's interesting you bring that up. I checked this morning. There are 30 teams in Major League Baseball, John. 16 of the 30 are at 500 or under 500 this year. I've never seen so many bad teams. Now, if you look at rosters, though, there are a lot of teams I think have committed, we're going to bring all the kids up and we're just going to play them. The Pirates are one. Houston just started to do it. It's happening other places. The Mets are emptying out their rotation. They're bringing up all their young pitchers, whether they're ready or not. So it may well be the bad cycle of baseball is only because teams have just committed. We've drafted all these young guys. Let's bring them to the forefront and go from there. There are very few dominant teams. We're a third of the way into the season. Atlanta, to me, is the most surprising team of all because they had a lot of injuries, and yet they're pounding the baseball. Atlanta's been a tremendous surprise. Boston's been a tremendous disappointment. Baltimore's a horrible disappointment, and they did it with young kids, but they've never built on their pitching staff. The White Sox, as miserable as they've been, all of a sudden, John, they're above 500. Think about that. Murakami, wow. He's got 18 home runs. He's hitting .232 for the Chi Sox. He's striking out 1 out of every 2.5 at-bats right now, a.k.a. Dave Kingman, and yet they love him in Chicago because of the threat of the long ball. So this is a very, very weird baseball season. And San Francisco, they spent a lot of money. They got $600 million in contracts. I don't think they have enough pitching, but virtually every one of their big money guys is having a really bad season at home plate. Now, maybe Devers is going to hit. Maybe Chapman's going to come out of the funk. Maybe Bader will hit for average like he did when he was in St. Louis. But right now, none of Buster Posey's acquisitions are panning out. So you're sitting there looking at the Padres, and we're sitting here barking at the Padres being 31-21 because they're not hitting and they don't have any dominant pitching, yet they're 31-21, which to me is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, the Padres are mind-blowing how they're pulling this off. I will say this, Luis Arraez has kind of had a little boost in his career. He's a better player than he was last year for the Padres. So that's one of the signings that Posey's made that's worked out nice. The other strange team is the other team in Chicago, the Cubs. I mean, talk about Jekyll and Hyde. They're like red hot, and then they go on these long losing streaks, and they just got swept by the Astros up in Chicago. I mean, so that's a weird team.
Yeah, and they got beat today. They've lost 9 in a row. But if you look at their roster, their pitching staff is all chewed up by injuries. I think that's a piece of the equation. They are a little streaky in the batting order, and they need some of their home run hitters to hit home runs on a consistent basis, and that has not happened in Chicago. And, they came out of the gate flying. Now Milwaukee has bypassed them. Milwaukee's in first place. It is a long season. Chicago's got to get their arms back healthy. I do think their bats will finally come back around because they hit early. They'll hit again. But right now, not very good. Okay, move on.
Okay, now, you ready for this, Lee? We were talking about Chick Hearn earlier. Here's 3 quick ones. Okay, you ready? Let's go. Do you love it? It says, Magic, a pass to Worthy, slam dunk, Chick rules, swelling sausage, the mustard came off the hot dog, no harm, no foul, no blood, no ambulance. Do you have a favorite Chickism?
Oh, what was the thing about the Jell-O is in the refrigerator and it's jiggling? I think that had something to do when the Lakers were pretty much ready to ice a victory. Wasn't that his favorite phrase?
Well, I think it was like the eggs are in the refrigerator, the Jell-O is jiggling, the butter's getting hard, and it was up and down, yo-yoing up and down, slam dunk. He invented that phrase. In the popcorn machine. I mean, he just had so many great lines, but he just made the game so entertaining. So it's fun that we're talking a little bit about Chick Hearn today.
But he wasn't broadcasting Sacramento Kings last place Lifetime basketball. He was broadcasting the Lakers who are winning. And that's a hell of a lot easier.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's go to our friend John. Hey, don't look now, but Vegas seems to be getting their brooms ready.
Yeah, very much so. And Carter Hart's had a lot to do with it. I think one of the unique storylines there in Vegas is Mitch Marner looks so different wearing Las Vegas colors than he did with the Maple Leafs. And this guy scored a lot of goals with the Maple Leafs, but they never went anywhere in postseason. He's scoring key goals for Vegas, and Vegas is winning. And it looks, this is a shocker that Vegas is going on the brink of going to the Stanley Cup Finals. Nobody could have projected Vegas because of the goaltending back when the season started in October. And the other end, I don't think anybody could have thought Montreal's kids would arrive en masse. Now that series is far from over. Montreal is going to play Carolina. Carolina could still be back in the Stanley Cup Finals. Well, I don't think anybody had Las Vegas and Carolina in the finals either. So injuries change things for sure, and that's what's happened in Colorado.
Now, is this Vegas's like 4th year maybe or 5th year? What is it?
Oh no, they've been in business, my goodness, 7, 8, 9 years.
Oh, it's been that long. Okay.
Oh yeah. Vegas as an expansion team had a lot of success very early.
I remember that.
And won a Stanley Cup very early. Vegas is, and their leadership is really bold. That general manager, McCrimmon, has done some very unique things in terms of player acquisitions to upgrade that Vegas roster, and they've developed some guys too. So very impressive where Vegas is, and they're on the brink. Tomorrow night they can win this thing, which would be a shocker for Colorado not to get to the finals.
You're always waxing poetic about the Canadiens. I see the text messages. I'm on some of those threads, with some of the other, with Roy and a lot of these other Canadian fans. Yeah.
But what Montreal's done, that coach, Martin St. Louis, who was a star in Tampa and been to the Stanley Cup Finals before, that coach has done a hell of a job selling those kids about this is the only thing that counts, this 60 minutes. We're not worrying about last night's loss. We're not worrying about tomorrow's game. We don't care whether it's home or road. I mean, you think, John, they're 7-2 on the road in the playoffs. Do you know how hard it is to win on the road in the playoffs in somebody else's barn? They're 7-2. It's just amazing with kids, an awful lot of kids, and their role players have stepped up. You and I have talked. If you got some veterans on the 3rd and 4th line, veterans can be heroes, and they've had 3rd and 4th line guys who scored critical goals. And that kid in goal, Dobish, what a warrior! Now he gets a little too excited for me. He's had some games where he stood around and just hammered people with a stick in front of the net. His job is to see the puck, not get involved with combat with power forwards trying to plant themselves. And when his defense has taken over and moved bodies out, Dobish is almost unbeatable. So the playoffs have been just amazing.
Okay, here's a fun one from HB949. Hey, Chick Hearn today. Hey, Lakers have a 2-on-1 fast break. Oh no, Hacksaw stops and takes a 3-point shot. Air ball. What is he thinking?
I can stroke it. I'm open. I'm taking a shot. That's what I'm thinking, Chick.
Hacksaw got game. I mean, did you play basketball as a kid?
I was slow but white. Yes, I could shoot threes, but I was slow but white.
Did they even call it a 3-point shot back then? I don't know.
No, not back then. But
I
could hit the outside jumper.
Okay. All right, let's go here to Ocean. What is this? Ocean View Coffee Shop. This is a nice one. Hey, it was an amazing weekend for racing. F1, NASCAR, European, GT, and the Indy 500 all delivered.
Yeah. John, on your bucket list, you got to go to if not the Indy 500, just visit the Speedway and go to the Hall of Fame. And on your bucket list, as long as you're going to be out that way, go to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. You won't believe how beautiful that is and all the cars that they have there. So it's really cool. And Formula One, I'm kind of upset that they've taken Formula One off TV and put it back onto subscription streaming, because I think they're missing some of the audience that could have access to it. But auto racing right now is a phenomenal high. IndyCar racing is not at a high. Indy 500 is an event unto itself. IndyCar schedule year-round has kind of lost its oomph. And I don't know what they're going to do to get that back, because NASCAR has got big events all over the country. F1 is now here in the States and huge in Europe. So, but boy, Memorial Day weekend has become a big, big event weekend in auto racing.
Hey, Lee, when's that NASCAR race going to be in San Diego?
I think it's June 19th out of Coronado Island.
So, yeah, it's a few weeks away.
Yeah, on the road. It's going to be different. There aren't that many tickets available. You might get a much better view of it watching it on TV, but it'll be fun at Coronado. It'll be a very unique experiment. It'll be interesting. Okay, a couple more here, John, before we do.
Okay, let's go to Roy. Hey, guys, can you address the Kawhi situation? Why hasn't Adam Silver taken action on Clippers for Kawhi? In my opinion, Clippers should lose their number 4 pick. Is Adam Silver bought and paid for?
Well, some people of the opinion whitewash. Some people of the opinion cover up. But at the same time, you look at Steve Ballmer, and he has publicly said, I lost $60 million from these people. These people stole from me. So Ballmer's of the opinion we did nothing wrong. Now, maybe the company did something wrong. Maybe Kawhi's handlers, a.k.a. his uncle Dennis, was illegal and tried to do something wrong. I just have a hard time believing Ballmer, an unbelievably successful businessman, would do anything wrong. So this may have been out of his purview along the way. I'm surprised it's taken this long. Maybe something will happen before the NBA draft. Maybe at the end of the NBA finals, we'll get some determination because of investigating this a long period of time. And then the side angle to the story, John, is Kawhi Leonard's contract get voided? Does he lose the $50 million left on the Clipper contract? Does somebody else sign him at what price tag? And Kawhi, as great a season as he had, he's got a lot of miles and he's got a real bad injury history here. And he's got this situation of what he and his family were asking. It was illegal, first of Toronto, and then obviously from this business consortium that was involved with the Clippers. So if I were a betting man, I would think something will happen after the NBA finals before the draft.
Yeah, this whole thing is disappointing. I mean, if everything they say is true, then definitely the Clippers, Kawhi, Ballmer, all of them need to get punched in the nose. So, and I don't know what the severity needs to be for each of these guys, but it is weird. I mean, I think, Roy is onto a good point. We were talking about this so much months ago, and we really haven't heard much about it lately.
Exactly. And they say it's complicated. I'd be shocked if the owner of the Clippers was involved in salary cap circumvention. However, there is precedent. I mean, they creamed the Minnesota Timberwolves maybe 5 or 7 years ago, and they stripped them of first-round draft picks and a big fine, etc., and it really impeded the Timberwolves' ability to compete. But that was a case where ownership was involved in that. This might be a different case of a sidebar deal that ownership of the Clippers had no knowledge of. So that's where we are there. John, let's do one more question here before we wrap it up.
Okay, here's a fun comment, and this is from Swell and Sausage again. Talk about the Chargers. Hey, once the Chargers got rid of Hacksaw, they were done. Show me your lightning bolts. Good night now.
Well, I had a great run. None of this deserved to happen. What Spanos did to our community, 55 years of loyalty, was an utter disgrace. His refusal to come to the negotiating table after the city and county joined hands to build a new stadium, his ideology to put up a bogus stadium proposal himself that would get voted down so then he could go to the league and say, see, we told you. It was an all utter disgrace. It's all about greed. What he did to my station, what he did to me personally after 13 years of loyalty, should have never happened. There were no need to make the changes they did. I just can't forgive him. I can't forgive him for what he did to our community. And sadly, I don't think we'll ever get it back. So at the end of the day, love my time doing it. Love the lightning bolt. Love the community's response to what our radio station did. Just feel really, really badly it ended the way it did for all of the good people by one bad person. So, and I root for the team to do well. I root for Justin Herbert to do well. I can't root for Spanos to do well. I'm sorry. I hope Justin Herbert goes 17-0. I hope Gene Spanos goes 0-17. That's the way I feel.
Yeah, that's the psycho one right there. But I'll just say this, Lee. I mean, how does it feel for you as a broadcaster? Because, you know, when we talk sports and sports history, we talk about sports broadcasters. I mean, they're not the players on the field, but they're part of the story and part of our memories. I imagine that must feel good for you, having been so closely linked with certain professional teams.
Well, we are the link to the team. Now, I wasn't a great broadcaster when they were going 4-12. I was doing the games. I became a great broadcaster when it became a Super Bowl team. No, that's not the case. We did a good job all the time. At just the end of the day, you get more notoriety when your team is really good and you start to win. So I enjoyed it, and I enjoy the interaction with the fans to this day. And I'm on a podcast, and I have a very popular sports website. It's not like doing sports talk, and I miss that. I miss the camaraderie of all the teammates that I had at 690 and 1090. But it went away, and corporate took it away and kind of wrecked all of our stations. That happens in all facets of the communications industry. It's happening in TV right now. You know, John, you're not an old-time radio guy, but CBS Radio Network just went out of business this last Friday. They've been in business for 100 years. And I commiserated with a lot of veteran broadcasters around the country that I'm still friends with, and we swapped some war stories. I think if you worked at a CBS radio affiliate, as I did for a long period of time, you understood how great the CBS radio network was. Not just Edward R. Murrow and Walter Cronkite and Douglas Edwards, but who they were and what they stood for. And when stories broke, that was the go-to place on radio. Now, I understand the landscape is really, really different. So very, very different time. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every facet of my broadcast career. A little bit different career right now. Hell, I'm dealing with you. How different is that compared to where I've been before? But no, I enjoy the interaction with the fans and the people here. That's why I would hope that everybody who watches this on this podcast, whether it's live stream or not, everybody who watches this will spread the word about what we're doing and get more of these people to be part of this, because it's fun doing a lot of work, but it's fun still interacting, even though it's a very, very different interacting. My heart hurt on Friday when CBS Radio News went out of business, because I know what that was all about and the people who how great they were.
Do you remember, like, when CBS News, when they were at the top of the hour, there was this certain, like, 4 tones, like on a xylophone, like do 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 do. You remember that?
Sure. In fact,
yeah,
I have it, and I'm going to send you a link to the closing broadcast on CBS Radio Friday night. You listen to it, you'll get a kick out of it. It was their signature, and it made them stand out different than anybody else. But that's for us old timers to remember and respect. Okay, we hope you have enjoyed this podcast. This has been really great. Listen, check my website, best 15 minutes in sports every day. Subscribe to my website so you can get on the email list and you can get the newsletters in your inbox twice per day. Read my one man's opinion column today about Memorial Day and how important it really is. We'll be back here on Thursday. I salute my co-host. He created this podcast. I salute my co-host. He put us in the neighborhood of FUBAR because he had to renovate his castle, and we've been walking on thin ice for the last couple of weeks during this renovation. If he looks like he's out of sorts, it's because he is out of sorts. John, great job today. Good fun. We'll see you come Thursday.
Come Thursday, Lee. Looking forward to it.
Our podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber. 8 locations to serve you, more than 100 years in business. Check out DIXIELINE.com to see all they have to offer. Have yourself a great couple of days. We'll see you come Thursday. Thanks as always for being part of Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.